Well, I was actually somewhat surprised by the Katie Hill news just because you just got in there a few months ago and you're so disgusting that you decide to pay your mistress to indulge in such egregious activities. And I guess what's always hard for me to get about these little scandals that come out of people supposedly being corrupt when they're in Congress is that if we actually took campaign laws seriously to any extent, we would pretty much get rid of everybody. Because, like I said before, last session we only had six people who didn't take money from super PACs or special interest groups. Uh, and when their voting records align with that, you can reasonably deduce that they're probably corrupt or that they are. But that's why when I look at all the attempts to kind of grandstand and go, oh my God, uh, how could this person be so corrupt? How could they act in such an egregious manner? It's like, man, they're acting the way that all the other ones do. They're just getting caught over it. But like I said, they always find a way to make that particular person they're seeking to demonize appear the worst, and have like the greatest, most horrible record ever. I mean, it's unthinkable that someone would have an affair while in office because that's never happened before, and use campaign funding to finance something improper. Can't take it seriously. Again, only reason this is even worth discussing is because I am genuinely surprised that she actually resigned because you literally she just won that seat this past November. So not even was this like 10 months into the session of Congress, you're out, not again because you got tired of the heat that was coming on you for doing something stupid that resulted in even your own party leader saying that you Siri, that resulted in even your own party leader saying she was finished with you. Like, no, we don't need you anymore. We're good. No, thank you. So let me see if anyone else comes so I can. I wanted to go for like 40 or 50 minutes, but apparently people don't want to show up. Well, it's all right. I'll just let them get a couple of moments or so. That's what I said about how it's always streams are such a roll the dice kind of thing because when you do them early, I go, okay, I can expect no one to show up because people are sleeping, blah, 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 blah. When you do it later in the day, they still don't show up. So it's kind of like, what's the point? That's why I said what I'll do if I continue to get the lack of attendance, I'll probably just start doing it back in the morning again and put the same kind of position of, who cares? Because, my thing is if people don't take advantage of the reason or rationale that I give for why someone should go to something, then it's not really up to me to make them check it out. Although it is annoying because, like I said, I've tried a lot of junctures and turns to acquiesce to the needs and demands of a lot of people on here, and it's not too fun to at that same time have the persons not do their part of the bargain. Uh, it gets kind of irritating, but that's how people are. They want everything out of you, and then they can't give anything back. So it's not too surprising. I mean, I don't understand it. What, like, you announce, hey, I'll probably do this at this time or that time, and they just won't show up. But this is why I only stream was less than half the week. I used to stream whenever I could. Now only half the week because too much lack of commitment. People, they have to think to take things a little bit more. I don't want to say seriously, but at least attempt to appear, concerned to some extent. So we can expect them not to because if they can't even pay attention to their own country state of affairs, much less a guy's stream, it all makes sense. Like one stone and cracks the other, where you have the laziness when it comes to the news and the laziness when it comes to a lot of people that they're sub to. So I've talked about how on a lot of these news channels they'll have boatloads of subs and then the views are kind of like peering out. Like I don't even want to name any names, but every single time I go to one of them and they have, let's say, several million subs, I have to really like scroll and look. And in a lot of cases, they won't even have a single video from that year that gets over at the highest, maybe 200,000 views. And even that's pushing it. It's really crazy. I was like, how the hell do you have all these subs and they don't show up? And it's not meant to throw any, make any insult toward them because I would say pretty much do what I do, which is you talk about a story and then you leave it up to the will of the people to actually check it out or watch it. But that's how they roll, man. They pick and choose what they want to see. Just can't believe Siri interrupted me like that. I was giving a nice little monologue and then it just started speaking over me. It was really annoying. I was highly disappointed. I guess that's what I can come to expect of the digital era of don't click on this, click on that. Oh, you clicked on this. Well, now this sound is going to come out. Or one time I was actually using the Hill, and I was on that website and I was looking up an article on here, and it just played this ad so loudly. The ad was louder than my voice. It was actually, I think it might have been louder than my TV. It was really horrible. Um, just complete garbage, man. It's so I said those pop-ups on these websites make me not even want to click on them anymore. The only time I might want to go to those websites is when it's on mobile because they usually have stronger protections against stuff like that, where it's harder for it to come out because of the way it's formatted. So that's most likely what I'll end up doing. Oh man, this is so stupid. Oh, and then these Democrats are crying because Trump got booed at the World Series. So they're upset because people decided to use their free speech to express their disdain or distaste for Trump. And it's really funny because I said to myself, he had all those different rallies, or he's had all these different rallies, and he'll have more in the future, where he'll call someone out of their name, where he'll talk disparagingly about whoever, and no one gets mad. No one says, "Oh my God, how could he talk about this person in that way and that person?" Because it's all double standards when liberals or progressives do something as menial as booing a candidate or a president or whatever, it's a bad thing. But if conservatives do it to a Democrat or some other left perceived to be left leaning politician, it's okay. And like the fact that they're really getting up here and going, it was so unprofessional and unpatriotic to talk to me. And I was like, dude, why do we have the First Amendment if we're not allowed to do that? I don't understand. Now people say lock him up, that there's a logistical issue with that. But even if they want to say that, I think it's tit for tat. If people can scream lock her up, they should be able to scream lock him up. Like I said, we live in the era of double standards, so they'll unabashedly continue to get mad at left leaning people for speaking or addressing the right in such a way. So we'll continue to get pissed off and have I guess a beef in relation to that. I mean, nothing ever gets any better with this stuff. It's just people find a new thing to cry and complain about. Before they were whining about some tweet that Trump had. It's just it. So I said the era of civility really needs to be wrapped up or concluded because when you go around and you tell people you must speak to me in this type of way, and if you don't, then that's what makes you the problem, not the actual policies that you support. You're going to keep getting this same trash that we have at this presidential election where people are now running on the like on this thing of how bad the words are that Trump says. And it's like, prick, we have a, it's like, do I need to do a recap? We're bombing 7 countries. We have a 78% rate of people that live paycheck to paycheck, possibly 80 at this point. It's like, what, where do you factor in getting upset over someone's rhetoric in between trying to fix that? That's why I said they don't really do anything that makes much sense. It's just people crying about more stuff that doesn't matter, inconsequential trash. I don't understand this at all. These people just sit here and just type, 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 whining and complaining about everything. Mm. And these are politicians, man. It's like if I'm the senator from whatever, what state is Chris Coons from? Delaware. I'm gonna actually, be trying to pass bills that reflect my ideology, not get upset because the president of a party I'm not even in got booed at one event when he gets praised at every single. And this is why I said that it feels like U.S. politics is like designed in such a way to where people who are supposed to be projecting an image of being strong, able to stomach a lot of stuff, and we're not talking about someone goes up to you and like just starts losing their mind. It's like you can have the slightest critique of this person in the sense that like someone saying boo, right? It's not a specific. People could be saying boo for all kind of different reasons, but someone saying boo is enough for this senator to think it's the most like it's this egregious crime, and I need to defend the president over this, and it's not necessary. Um, that's why I said in the UK, when you look at the prime minister's questions, and then you also factor in, how many different people across the UK have just like screamed stuff out. I would rather have that because I'd rather have that kind of system because with that you actually have people who can basically say what they want. And what I think is so weird is it's like the members of Congress are muzzled. Like the president goes and gives a speech, no one is allowed to say or interrupt or do anything that actually conveys their point during it. And the only time people are able to say anything is when they give a response, which most of the members of the House don't even do. It's like 2 or 3 people. You got the Democrats they'll respond to the Trump speech, and then you also had Sanders respond with his own separate address. But I sit here and I look at them like so they're basically not allowed to ever to his face challenge him on anything except maybe in some backdoor meeting somewhere. It's that's dumb to me. That doesn't make any sense. Except if you, well, it makes sense if you treat these people, these grown adults who have gotten millions of votes like babies. Then it makes sense. Makes a lot of sense if you consider it that way, because then they're going to pretty much be able to do whatever they want, where they have people that acquiesce to their petulance and whatnot. So let me see what else is in the news before I get out of here, because I see we're having a almost like non-existent string of people. All right, so there was a poll that came out. Was this yeah today that said that 70% of millennials say will vote for a socialist. That's why I said that term is stupid because it means nothing. It's like when people say they're capitalists. Well, okay. And it's even worse because it comes from people who are see when the person themselves says it, I give it some credence because they're trying to display what their ideology is. Of course, you need to go into further detail. It's why when you talk about democratic socialism or social democrat, it's different from something like what's going on in Venezuela, which is where they like to smear Sanders and say that he wants to be like. But when you're allowed to explain it and you don't have crazy people screaming down your throat because they're trying to shush you into accepting their trash framing, you're able to say, hey, look, I support these forms of reforming our democracy and, changing the U.S. lifestyle for the better. It's really not that difficult to understand that if people are actually allowed to go up and explain what their positions are. Problem is, you've got a goofy media that just calls Sanders was progressive or socialist, and they don't like. No one tries to make the distinction. That's why all these right wing pundits. I mean, I was listening to Mark Levin, for example. This is a clip from 2 years ago where he was talking about how Sanders is a violent uh, some term. It was I don't think it was Marxist. It was something else, but it was, I believe, in the aftermath of when the Sanders supporters shot Scalise. Now, as you remember, Sanders condemned that. He expressed outrage over it. There was no part of his public remarks that even indicated liking that. But I watched this clip for about maybe 5, 6, 7 minutes, and it's literally like watching just complete gibberish. I mean, you're talking about ideology to the point where you can't even specify what examples of him supporting violence there are. It's just you saying, "Oh, he's this term," and other people who are this term are this way as well. So he must automatically be this, even if there's nothing that indicates that he is. It's like if me and I don't know another person were both called capitalist, and then that person says they're in favor of, I don't know, raising the age of incarceration, lowering the age of incarceration to 10 or something. And I say, okay, I'm not for it. It's like, oh, but you're a capitalist too, so you must be for it. It's like, well, that's kind of ridiculous because if we have the same label, but you know what our positions are, and we don't try to hide them and we specify this is our difference, surely you can grant us at least the benefit of the doubt in that respect. But they won't do that because US political discourse is no longer about trying to have fact based, reasonable disagreements that are rooted in proof and evidence. It's all emotional stuff. That's why you can have someone like myself sit here and say, "Hey, we shouldn't. We should try to keep as many seats in the House as we can," and then somebody else says that's stupid. When like if you don't have anything in Congress and you don't have the presidency, then what the hell do you have besides a couple of grassroots people who don't have anyone there to represent them? And it's like they try so hard to defend some opposing viewpoint that it literally makes them erase any form of reality, because when that person was in Congress before, you thought it was good for them to be there. Now it's a difference. Like no matter what area I look at, it's always the same thing where you say, "Hey, look, I understand you think this, but when you actually look at these people's positions, it doesn't go that way." Like when I used to be on Twitter, I used to try to talk to these Trump supporters, and I would say, you can't defend a guy who claimed he wanted to reduce the budget or reduce the deficit when it's gone up under his tenure. It's like you have to, and it doesn't mean he's automatically some horrible garbage chief executive, because I've said before the deficit is kind of like a dual flip with me where uh, oh, Ruben, oh, you just thank you for becoming the third person today to ask who someone is. She's a representative. I'm not even gonna. She's the representative who's resigning. No, Ruben, I had some spam in the comment section for the last Andrew Yang video I did, because I said, they're going after Pac-Man because he put up a clip on Saturday where he was saying he didn't think Yang could win, and they were responding to it, and some of them were saying some pretty, let's just say, not very nice stuff. And I watched it, and I didn't think he said anything that was particularly bad. He just said a guy who is polling at fifth and sixth place month after month probably is not going to get some huge boost, which I would say about pretty much anybody that isn't one of the top three at this point. Um, and it's like, you look in the comment section of my thing, and two of them start spamming who's David Packman, and I'm like, only. So I hate Mondays. Only on a Monday could people now pretend they don't have Google and they don't have YouTube search. And I guess it's harder for me to understand them because I've been in circumstances where I didn't know something while I was in the comment section, but because I wasn't on camera, I didn't have to be caught on the spot of not knowing it. I would just look it up and then, know what they were talking about. But people don't want to do that. They want you to, sometimes I feel like I'm a literal babysitter on this site. Like I have to overly explain stuff to people. And it's not even, I guess, Ruben, the other thing is that it's a lot. It's also, see, like, for example, somebody said, who am I, right? It would make sense because I have this little itty bitty, channel, whatever. That adds up. But when you talk about a guy who has, along with Jimmy and along with Secular Talk, 700,000 subs, it's harder for me to not get how these people don't know who he is. Because I think actually out of the three of them, Jimmy's the one who gets the most views of anybody. So, like, but that being said, the other two are still getting, what is it, like 5-digit views, 40,000, 50,000 a video. Ruben says my sister gave me her dog. He's very annoying. I'm sorry to hear that. I haven't had a dog in, I think, what, 8, 9 years. Yeah, it's been a while. So I hope the dog improves its behavior over the course of the of time. Man, people are so weird. Like, who's David Pakman? Who's David Pakman? Who's David Pakman? It's like, what's Google? What's YouTube search? And it was annoying because it wasn't just one person who wrote it. There were at least two of them. And I can't even take them seriously because just like all the other Yang content, uh, they show up for that, and then the rest of the stuff completely disappeared. I think out of that whole group, I've seen maybe two of them. I've seen one of them comment on stuff that wasn't Yang related, and then the other one was a guy who commented on stuff like Yang stuff for a month, right? Disappeared, and then when I did the upload about the why are people so loose nowadays, he left me some goofy comment, and I just rolled my eyes because at this point I really don't care. Like, if people see, I guess what I always try to say is, if someone comes and they express a disagreement and they do it in a way that doesn't feel disingenuous but like actually a position, okay, fine, whatever. With the political stuff, but when you come over here and you sit through some 10-minute thing of me speaking without a script and you tell me I am attempting to sow historical and accurate, like, we don't need that. Go write your over analytical trash at one of these universities. I mean, it doesn't matter enough to me. And again, especially when it comes from people, I think the only person who's written some massive comment that I actually looked at was the one that, who was it? I'm trying to think. Oh, it was Envoy. Yeah, he wrote some big comment last year, and I looked at it because he's someone who actually shows up, who I don't think is trying to screw with me at all. Okay, Music Fiend says, I just noticed you have a whole lot of in the cup. Is that cup specifically designed to hold? Or are you just a monster? Yeah, if you don't like this pen's cup, I'll get rid of it. I'll make it disappear. Because we would never do anything to upset you, boss. We just want an extra piece of chicken and rub a tub. See, Ruben says a lot of people don't know who Blackstone Intelligence and Truth Media are, and they have 100,000. So, like, Ruben, I think at this point it's been proven that, like, it doesn't even matter how many subs you have, people still won't know who you are in a lot of cases. But what gets me is that, like, when I think of left-wing major channels that aren't TYT, I think of those three. So when people go and say, I don't know who this person is, and they're only what, 200,000, 300,000 subs, they're like 7/10 of the way to 1 million. It's so, like, I don't understand, man. And again, this could have all been averted if they just looked on, YouTube or some other fashion, some other search engine. But like I said, we live in the era of laziness, so I have to, like, overly explain stuff to people. Now, Ruben, the Katie Hill thing is shocking because she literally just got there. Like her tenure has been only since this Congress, and she was stupid enough to throw it away. And that's one of those red districts, so it's even more pathetic. It's like with the Doug Jones thing, where he said to himself, instead of actually being a cool senator who happens to be from the South, that is a progressive champion and whatnot, I'm going to act like a regular old Republican in the hopes that Republicans will vote for me, which we already know it's over for him after next year. So that's pretty lovely. And it shows how stupid he is, because why would anyone vote for someone that they genuinely think is no different than the other party if they're on the left? And then why would someone vote for a crappier version of a Republican if they're on the right? Like, he doesn't realize they're not going to support him because they didn't vote for Cav. Like, oh my God, there's a whole mirror. I could probably do a whole stream on how stupid he is, but whatever. It won't matter after next year because he'll be yanked from office, and we'll probably get Roy Moore, and then we'll get some more accusations. And that'll go on for like 6 years before they get rid of him. God, that state is so weird to me, man. They have some of the strangest stuff come out of there. Wait, I know who Katie Hill was. I just forgot. Yeah, she just resigned yesterday, or she just announced it yesterday. This was all over the news, man. I think I might have a tweet from June or May, and someone had commented on her page and was talking about, you're this or whatever. And I said I think they were complimenting her, or it was a Republican who was critiquing her. And I said, man, Katie Hill isn't worth anything, just another corporate Democrat. They're all the same. And then like some Democrat or allegedly left-leaning person responded to the initial person's post, but they decided they had to respond to him by responding to what I had written. So I got notified for it, and it looked like they were confronting me, and I was like, yeah, I'm good. I don't care. That was funny because I predicted at that point she wasn't anything, and she kind of proved it here. It's not hard to predict that stuff because most of these members of the House don't. They're just there to go along and get along. Like, why do you think all the quote unquote progressives voted for Pelosi for Speaker? Like, you got Roe, you have the Squad, you have Jayapal, you have Tulsi. I mean, that's already what, 7 people, and you really couldn't, like, none of them could run for Speaker, even the ones that have been there for over one term or what. Like, it made no sense to me. It was stupid. You see how many Justice Democrats there are in Congress? That's a good question. I'm pretty sure it's like 7 or 8. I'm gonna look it up. Oh, I forgot all about I pronounce his last name. The one from Arizona. I forgot about him. He doesn't get talked about much either. It's partly because I can't pronounce his name. I've seen a couple articles with him in there, but it's never that much. Ruben says, I guess Kanye West is now a born again Christian, so now we have more useless topics for the media to cover instead of real issues from both sides of the spectrum. They're supposed to be having the vote on the Turkey sanctions bill at some point this week. I don't know if it's today or not, but they'll have it, and I might record something for. I don't know. I have a bunch of stuff I could just put out throughout the week, as I said I would do. Um, it's really just slow news every day now, like, because they're trying so hard to not cover any foreign policy issue besides Syria, because they know North Korea is done. They know that Iran is not doing anything to us, so they're just sitting there and messing around. What's he doing? Okay, I don't know what that word means. Just mute them. So this is some Discord stuff. I actually had somebody join the server yesterday, and it was pretty pleasant. They like laid out a whole case for why they're on the left, and I should let them in. And I was like, yeah, I'm just asking because I don't want to have you come in here and then, like, I don't even think I mentioned the story of how there was a guy. I think it was the last time I tried to make a server who I spoke to earlier this year, for months and whatnot, and he got kicked from a server that we were both in, and then I asked him to join mine. Um, Again, this is the I guess here's how I'll make this sound the dumbest because it's stupid. He admits that he takes sometimes week-long breaks from Discord. He is only in this server for about a week before he leaves. And when I ask him, "Why did you leave?" "Oh, I wasn't active." Well, of course you weren't active, dingbat. You're not active on here for, as you admitted yourself, for a week or for multiple days. I could see if it was like a month or two where he just wasn't both. But he left after a week of being in there while admitting that he takes week-long breaks from this website. God, people are so weird. That's why I said I really just I want to go back just uploading stuff because every time I have the comment section, somebody writes something weird. Nobody knew who Juan Vargas was until he made that weird response to what Omar said about Israel the first time, and now everyone forgot who he was again since then.